Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another session of the 72 Names of God. This week we're going to speak about י.ל.ה as a combination out of the 72 names that correspond with this week. You know, there's a deep, powerful understanding to have as we entered the month of Cheshvan, which is the month of Scorpio. We are right now entering another cycle. י.ל.ה is another cycle that starts from the 6th day of the month of Scorpio till the 10th day of the month of Scorpio, and this is this week. In this month, you know that as we ended the month of Libra, actually, that we just exited, the days were prepared to us by the cosmos with the great opportunities to really draw light. And some people make the mistake of thinking that the reason there are not unique days of connection in this month of Scorpio that's set up in this month of Scorpio is that besides of Rosh Chodesh is because it is the month when there is not really much light available for us. But it's not true. It's really not true. As we all come to understand, is that Scorpio is a month which each one of us individually can reveal more light than any other month of the year, as well as affect more global change. It's such a tremendous time for all of us as an individual, as a humanity. And Rav Ashlag quotes a teaching from the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi י.ל.ה, and he says that one should live his or her life viewing the world as being balanced, positive and negative, good and bad. And every person should also view him or herself as being in balance. Therefore, every single action of positivity, sharing and revealing a revelation of light elevates the entire world. So while we know that every single action of negativity, selfishness, and what hurts other people or another person changes the entire balance of the world to negativity. And Rabbi י.ל.ה says that one should live his life with the thought that the world and ourself are exactly balanced in each moment between positive and negative. And that one action will tip the balance. One action that is positive will tip our own and the world's balance to positive, while one negative action of selfishness will tip both ourselves and the entire world toward the negative. He tells us, Rabbi י.ל.ה, that if we can live our life with this constant consciousness, then we will achieve the purpose of which our soul came here into this world. But Rav Ashlag says, we have to understand what that really means. Do we really believe that in any given moment, we and the world are exactly balanced between positive and negative? Most of us do what's right. We want to do actions of sharing. We want to do actions that will connect us to the light of the Creator and receive the blessings that come from that, right? When we share for many different reasons. Sometimes one action of sharing is caused by many different thoughts and reasons. Sometimes we do, or when we do an act of sharing, right, or an act of connection that is purely for the purpose of sharing and that has no personal agenda or desire or thought involved in it at all. However, that's very uncommon. And although actions of sharing are certainly better than not sharing at all, they are not always pure. For example, We share with a friend because he also shares with us. It is not pure sharing. And that's okay. That's okay. Because we are not meant to be perfect the whole time, right? Or all the time. But what we should understand is that our spiritual purpose in this world is not simply to be a good person and not simply to perform action of sharing, but that each one of us individually needs to know that the shift of our consciousness also affects the world. The purpose of the wisdom of Kabbalah, as we often talk about, is not simply to bring more light and blessing into our lives. The real purpose of this wisdom, the reason it was brought into this world thousands of years ago, is to create a shift in the world in a simple state. Imagine if a majority, or at least a critical mass, of the world today cares more for the other than they care for themselves. And if we are all honest, and if we're honest with ourselves, what percentage of our day, of our week or month is purely focused on the other person? We need to come to understand that purely focusing on the other is the way to change this world. Scorpio month is when we can do great things and open our consciousness to this great concept. Not to just bring about individual change and individual blessings like we already started to speak about in our last session, and to bring more light into our own life, but to affect a global change. So how do we do that? So we have the power of this week with Y.ל.ה. And actually, and the portion that aligned with this is the portion of Noach, which is in Hebrew is to be comfortable. So how we get out of our comfort, right? But how do we do that with the Y.ל.ה, which is sweetening the judgment, or in other words, transforming bitter to sweet? Through pure actions or sharing, this is the only way that we can do it. As Rav Ashlag tells us, the purer the action of sharing, the greater shift of our consciousness and the greater the effect in this world. When enough people do enough actions that are pure, in their sharing, the world changes. And especially the way we see the events that take place around the world, almost in each country. We really want to be a beacon of light to others as a Kabbalah student. And therefore the consciousness is to focus on, in this month in particular, is of doing one act of a pure sharing, one act of sharing that brings us no benefit. Because the action shifts the consciousness of the world. And the world needs more and more of those actions. If the majority of this world cared more for the other than themselves, the world will change. And as Rav Ashlag has said before, all the sources of war and destruction that are in this world could not exist once we view the other's benefit before our own. As such, the purest action that can affect change is an action that is only for the benefit of the other. When the individual has no desire to receive from the action on any level at all, it begins or continues the process of transformation and transforming the consciousness of the world. And again, a world consciousness shift, okay, does not happen in one. I've heard a new terminology in English, a fell swoop, right? It happens slowly. It doesn't happen like this, it happens slowly, right? It is like putting a sesame seed on one side of the scale and something very heavy on the other one. So one sesame seed is not going to do anything, but over time, if we keep adding those sesame seeds to the other side, it will shift the scale. And that's what Rav Ashlag says when we talk about viewing the world as balance and viewing our work to shift that balance. We know it's going to take time, but pure actions of sharing and the consciousness of those actions will affect the shift. And especially now in this month of Scorpio, which we are getting this, this understanding that we have to grab every opportunity to affect change, every opportunity to affect change, understanding that, that when we choose that, one time a day of this purest action of sharing, knowing it will not benefit, an action that we know that it will not benefit us at all, that particular action can already create the change that is needed in this world. So we are doing it because we want it to be like, to add one more sesame seed onto the scale of the world that over time will shift the world's consciousness. You know, everything in this world is, in this universe, exists in polarity. Whatever there is a potential for darkness and negativity, there is equal potential for light and positivity. So when the Kabbalah is called this month Mar Cheshvan, meaning bitter Scorpio, when they are really saying, what the Kabbalists are really explaining, that this month has the greatest potential to transform bitter to sweet. And this is where we receive in Y.l.ha to understand that we're able to, with every little action that we will do, that has a pure consciousness to it, we are able to transform every bitterness, every decree, every judgment to better. I remember Michael Berg's words in Tisha B'Av, in the 9th day of Av lecture. It was in Israel, and you can view it on Kabbalah.com. It's such a powerful, powerful lecture and a great message. And one of the points that he was sharing, that if we would only believe or have the certainty that each one of us has what it takes to completely affect the world to better, to transform the world into the best world that it intended to be. If we will have the certainty that we have the power to really make a great difference in the world, that would be it. That would be it. And when I've mentioned in our previous message or class about I want it all, and understanding and asking what is our commitment to have it all. And one of our commitment, I think, is like committed as a human being, as a soul that came to this world to effect change. So we have the power to transform bitter to sweet. And we need to ask ourselves, what are the actions that we're willing to take? Yes, the commitment for sure. What is the pure actions that we're willing to do? And let's start this week with something that we'll do with no agenda. With no agenda. This is like always asking, ourselves. Sometimes we walk, we enter this room, or we walk and we socializing with people, and sometimes there's a thought that comes to our head, like, how come this person didn't greet me today? Why he or she didn't say hello, or good morning, or how are you? Let's like transform that bitter to sweet. Let's ask that person, let's greet the other person with the same, like, how are you? How have you been? How's your day? How do you feel? Is there anything that you need? Whatever we want in our life from others, this is what we need to extend to them. We can just expect people to treat us in a certain way because, we think we are X, Y, or Z, right? But what we put out there is basically what we will receive in return, even if it's not the right way. So let's, this week, with й.ל.ה, awaken and strengthening that consciousness that we understand that every action that we do affects the whole world, and let's choose one pure action that we will do in order to transform bitter to sweet and really affect the consciousness of this world. And let's have the certainty and awaken more of this understanding that each one of us has the power to make that change. And let's stop thinking, this week at least, okay? Let's try that just this week. Let's stop thinking about how we don't want people to behave towards us, and instead start thinking about how we do want them to behave, and then extend that behaviors to others. By being the kindness we wish to see in this world, we can transform bitter to sweet and make it a very good week, a very good month, and a very good year. And to seal that, I would like to read a section from the Zohar, from the connection, is really to connect with understanding of the light, from the light, like what the light really asks from us. I'm reading from actually the portion of י.ל.ה, and it's section 146, and I'm going to read the Aramaic. רבי שמעון הווה אזיל בערכה, והווה עמיה רבי אלעזר בריאה, ורבי אבא ורבי יהודה. עד דאבו אזלה, אמר רבי שמעון, תבהנה איך בני עלמא למשגיחין, למינדה מילי דאורייתא ועלמא קיימי. פתח ואמר, נפשי אביתיך בלילה, אף רוחי בקרבי אשכרך, היא קרא וקמאה וקמינה ליה, אבל תחזי, נפשה דבר נש, כד סליק לארסיה נפקת מיניה, וסלקה לאלה, ואיתמה דחולו סלקן, לאו כל חד וחד, חמי יפה מלכה. אלא נפשה סלקה ולה השתער בה בהדי גופה, בר חד רשימו דקוסתה דחיותה דליבה. It's interesting because this, I'll just read that just so that the relevance of the passage is really like match what we just shared. When we awaken in the morning, if our soul ascended to greatest heights during the night, our sense of intuitiveness and foresight is actually enhanced. We make the right decision as we are guided by our intuition. If, however, our souls are enveloped by negative forces, these entities whisper lies and speak falsehood to our soul. This word of deception distort a person's reality during the day, so that lives appear even more confusing, more chaotic. We find ourselves at the wrong place at the wrong time. Our thoughts, ideas, and decisions lead us down to the wrong path. These verses, and the verse I just read of the Zohar, can help us apply our sleep as powerful tool that can help our soul elevate to greater heights during the night. And the reason I'm sharing with you this article, and specifically because it's really to understand that to have this balance in our life and to create a positive action, we need to nurture our soul. We need to nurture our soul. We need to nurture our body. We need to nurture our spirit. It's like when we make sure that we are balanced with our mental state, soul, and so forth. And especially when we understand with Y.ל.ה and in correspondence with this month, is when we are balancing or nurturing our soul, therefore we are charged. It's like the phone, it's like your cell phone, you're charging it at night, right? In order to use it during the day. So there's a battery. So when are we acting with negativity most of the time? When maybe we didn't sleep very well, so we are very reactive, or if we didn't eat well, and thoughts are coming to our mind that are like not positive. So if I want to create a positive action, I'm asking myself, like, what are the things that I need to do to nurture body, mind, and soul in order to really behave in a positivity and to be the conduit of the light in this world? So one of them is a good night's sleep, to charge our sleep. So if you want to know more about the power of sleep and how you can get the tools for it, I highly recommend to contact one of our greatest teachers, Mordechai Balas, that is really his service is to help you understand more about how to have a better sleep and use the spiritual tool for that. And in this article that I've just read, in the portion of Y.ל.ה, it's in volume 3, starting verses 146 and more. It's like really to get the soul infused in a great or being charged at night. So in the morning when we wake up, it's not just we have the great intuitive and positive attitude. This will lead to positive actions. Okay, so this is another practical tool that you can use. And during this week, when you meditate on Y.ל.ה, sweetening this judgment is to know that you have the ability to make sure that you can transform bitter to sweet. You have the ability, no one else. Would love to hear more from you. Thank you for all of those of you that email, contact me, share with me your stories and transformation by using the 72 name is always inspiring to hear from you. I encourage each one of you to contact me and share more. Thank you so much for joining me today.